Hey, welcome back to Modern Art Blitz. I'm your host, Matt Gleason. My guest, Rick Ortega. Rick,
hey, Matt, how you doing?
welcome
All right.
to the show. Hey, now, LA native?
Born in the San Fernando Valley.
Oh boy.
In San Fernando.
Well, Tom Petty would say that's LA.
There you go.
Hey, so where'd you go to high school?
San Fernando High School.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And it was going to be its own city there for a while, right?
Yeah. Well, San Fernando's its own city, but
Oh,
I was raised in Pacoima.
So wait, San Fernando's its own city, but
Yeah.
it hasn't been its own city the whole time, though, right? Did it break away from LA at some point?
It is its own city. It's got its own police department, its own fire
really?
department, and stuff like
Okay.
that. Yeah.
And you grew up in Pacoima?
I grew up in Pacoima.
Where do you live now?
I live in Sylmar, which is really close by. It's
Oh,
close
yeah,
by,
yeah,
but it's all
Sylmar.
northeast San Fernando Valley. I'm kind of just,
And Sylmar's most famous for the earthquake.
The earthquake.
The big one back in 70.
And Pacoima for Richie Valens.
Oh,
There you
Richie
go.
Valens from Pacoima. Jeez,
Right on,
okay, well,
man.
it's going to be hard to be the most famous guy from Pacoima if Richie Valens is
go,
there.
man.
Okay, so we are looking at painting. Help me
Yes.
out here now. Oil, acrylic?
It's oil. I just, once I started painting in oils, man, I couldn't go nowhere else. I just loved I love the feel of oil paint.
I had a guest on that said after the smell of oil paint, you
Man,
can't,
that's probably
you
it
can't
too.
go back to acrylic.
That's
Okay,
probably it too.
So is this a new piece?
It is probably last year. It's called a Prayer for the Earth. It really is. When you said what do you want to talk about, it's the spirituality of art. So. With everything that's happening worldwide, it's kind of, that's where my art goes. That's
Has your art
kind
gotten more spiritual in the last couple of years?
Or
have you
I
always
think,
had a spiritual bent?
I'm thinking, from the very beginning, how I started drawing, I was opening up my mom's Bible, and she had all these images of these masters, the masters that would paint in these Bibles, and I started drawing that. So I guess that was my first introduction of art.
In art history, there was a time in Europe that the only art collector was the Catholic Church. So if you're an artist, who are you going to sell art to? Well, there's one collector, right? Now there's a bunch of collectors, but you're still upholding this tradition that art has this, not necessarily, and I think it's not fair to an artist to call it an illustration of a spiritual subject matter. You're trying to imbue your art with a spirituality.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
So tell us about her.
It is like if you see the earth, it's kind of in her womb area, and it's kind of this, but like I said, with everything that's happening in the world, it's just sending out a prayer to the earth, and you see the duality right there of the moon and the sun, and what I really, from the very beginning, like I said, was how to get the seeing facial expressions. When you see the facial expression, you kind of go deep into the painting. Because I used to see that with the old masters.
How do you get a model? Do you work with a model?
That's tough. Sometimes I'll work from just. Man, I used to do it with magazines. Now it's more on the internet. But with magazines, and if I see a real, an object that or a person that I like, hey man, you take it and you work it into your compositions, So it's kind of just whatever you feel,
What about? And I'm looking at the woman here. Is this someone you know?
This was a funny one. This was a lady that showed up to one of my art shows, and people said, "Is this one of your models?" And I said, "No," but she was there. I said, "Well, do you want to be?" And she goes, "Well, yeah." So it just happened that way, So I just took some photographs. I go and take some photographs with them, and then I work out a composition after that. After taking the photographs. But most of the time, I'll pose them in some kind of.
So this woman had these tattoos?
No, I added.
You added the tattoos?
Yeah.
Did she go out afterwards and say, "Oh, I got to get those tattoos"? That's perfect. No.
I really don't know. I really don't know. But no, that was added in as you'll see all the images in the tattoo are the images that you see on the Virgen. What she's wearing in her
You're using
dress.
the imagery from the actual it's hanging in Mexico City.
Right.
Okay.
Right, and those are the icon, the images right there.
How big is this painting?
That I would say 24 by 30 maybe. I'm really not too sure about sizes sometimes.
Do you make your own canvases, or you just go?
I used to.
Yeah?
I used to, and now I just kind of simply buy them.
It's just so much easier.
There's
some people they have to do that, and they staples. No, I have to do the tacking.
I used to paint a lot bigger, but then you find out transporting the art, it just becomes sometimes a hassle.
Who has a wall that big anymore, right? Everybody's downsizing, just making smaller art.
Right.
So now did you make this just like, I'm going to make this painting? Is it part of a series? Was it for a show?
No, most of the work I do is just what comes out of my heart, man, you know? So whatever I'm feeling at the moment, that's what I'll paint, you know?
Okay.
So, you know, it's rare that I have done them for shows, you know, they'll give me a topic, but most of the time it's just what comes out of me, man, you know? And so.
Okay. Fighting the good fight.
Fighting the good fight always.
Let's see what else you brought. Okay. Well, here we are, and I recognize LA City Hall. Mm-hmm. Looking like it's the 1940s. Is that a...
That's a pachuco from the 1940s.
Is that the zoot suit?
Yeah, you know, and this came about, of course, when I was a kid, man. I think I must have drew Ignacio Gomez's zoot suit many a times, you know, that iconic image of the zoot suit. I must have drew that maybe three or four times.
From the play and movie zoot suit.
Right.
Yes.
So, you know, I fell in love with the image, and you know what came about actually with this, not only did the play redo, but it was meeting John Carlos de Luna, you know, with Barrio Dandy, you know, and when I first met the guy, you know, I showed up at a show and he's wearing a zoot suit, you know, and I kind of, you know, man, you know, it just blew my mind, you know, what this guy's wearing a zoot suit, but he encompasses this life, and he brought it back in a beautiful way through Barrio Dandy.
And the zoot suit is an icon that it goes beyond just particular identity. I mean, it
was style as resistance, you know, style as resistance, wow. You know. So, you know, I have a solo show right now at Chimaya Gallery, and the show, it's called Nuestro Espíritu, our spirit, and I said our spirit is timeless, you know. So, most of my work deals with the Mexica people, the Aztecs, and I'm kind of, okay, that was the seed of my painting. Now, let's see, where are we going from here, you know? So I'm kind of going through the eras, the different eras of where we originated from.
Okay.
And so this is just part of the eras of who we are, you know? This is part of
so 1948?
1942, I would figure, more or less.
42, okay.
1942.
I'll tell you something, maybe you know, maybe you don't, a little trivia here.
I probably won't.
Do you know where Sleepy Lagoon is?
The Sleepy Lagoon, that was the trials, sure.
No, but do you know?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
No, I've never been to the...
Only because I live kind of near there. It's actually, if you're on Slauson, you go into Maywood from the City of Commerce, okay?
Right.
And as you're going, you go over the LA River. Well, the LA River wasn't as elaborate at one time, and there was this area that was a lagoon. And it was called Sleepy Lagoon. And then the LA River got built, but they still called it Sleepy Lagoon. So that's where it all took place, right at the border of Maywood and what's now Commerce, right by Slauson.
Right
so
on.
There you have.
And I saw the play, the remake of the play, and it was beautiful, man.
Are there any differences? Do they use the same?
Yeah, I guess there is such. I didn't see the original. I mean, I saw it in the movie, but I didn't get to see it live, the original one. But it was a great play, you know, and it tells you the whole story of the Sleepy Lagoon trials and all that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and a huge success back in the 70s. The film was in the 70s, right?
Yeah,
it was a big deal. So I went to St. Paul High in Santa Fe Springs, and I remember like when that came out, it was like, you know, everybody at school, you know, it was like all the Latinos at school were like, this is the play you got to see. I mean, that was very happening. You know? So let's. Are we going to go from the 40s to?
I don't know. I didn't know what I brought. See, this is.
You don't know what you brought.
I don't. You know, I just sent it out to Abel. I got so many.
Okay, the producer has edited from a selection, so surprise to you.
It's all surprise to me, but it's all good. See, this is it's called Mexica migration. You know, and this is what I was talking about. You know, I fell in love with you know, when I was in college in Chicano studies, man. You know, what happened is that in high school, I never learned about this, or it was never taught. It was not, you know, you learned about Roman history, Egyptian history, you know, Greek mythology, and all this, but, you know, you were never taught about our own people.
And what year were you in? What high school did you go to?
I graduated in 1985 at San Fernando.
You said San Fernando High.
Yeah.
What college did you go to?
I went 1 year to college, Los Angeles Valley College.
You went to LA Valley College, and you took Chicano studies there.
And I took Chicano studies there, and that opened up a whole...
So you didn't go to art school?
You know, later on, I ended up, like I said, just working on my own. I'm self-taught, man. You know, I self-taught. You know, I told you, from just those books when I was a kid, I just kept on going. You know, I picked up a crayon, never stopped. But I was able to put a portfolio together later on in life, and I did get a scholarship to the Art Center, which was for a semester. And that helped me with my oil painting, man. It really did.
Really?
It was,
Hey.
it was,
Wow, wow.
it was a
Study
good
with the
experience.
masters, hey.
There you go.
So,
man.
so if this is to be, if we're to call this, I would say Chicano history, but indigenous history here, what year are we talking here?
Man, this would be prior to I don't even want to say conquest. I don't like that word, but this is prior to
The invasion.
To the invasion. Let's say that.
So this is
so
prior
we're
to the
talking maybe early 1500s.
early
maybe?
1500s. Cortez isn't there yet,
Right.
And so tell us what's going on here.
Well, there's a place called Xochimilco in Mexico, and but actually, the whole city Tenochtitlan was built with waterways, so everybody would just go with waters, and they compared it to Venice, that when the Spaniards came, they saw this marvelous city. So, a lot of my work comes from these images in my mind of reading the history, So how do I imagine it? How does it look in my mind or whatever? So, I love color, of course. You can see that in that. So, the flowers had a lot to do with the indigenous spirituality also, flower and song, which meant flor y canto was poetry and art. And that was a great spirituality of the people, bringing poetry and art together. So
the problem is so much of this stuff was destroyed with, that if it wasn't made out of like stone, and weighed 3 tons that they couldn't do anything to it, they burnt it or destroyed it. How did the mythology of the flowers last,
Oh man, that was through mouth and through poetry, and that lived on. That's what lived. It was through the people.
Wow, the oral tradition.
The oral tradition
it survived despite the attempt to suppress it.
And we're still here. We were never destroyed. That's why I don't like the word conquest, because we're still alive and we're still. And this is honoring. This is me honoring that tradition or our heritage. It's straight honoring.
And you find like a perfect spiritual lineage from then to now.
Definitely. I always create my work in that's the way the indigenous artists would do it. It was honoring their gods, honoring their deities. And I work in the same light, I work with that. There's always a God conscious while I'm painting, And I try to reveal that in my art.
And what year was this painting?
I want to say 2010, maybe.
Oh, so it was okay. So it's not a recent work, but still a mature work.
Sure.
And how big is this one?
Let's say maybe 30. Also about maybe a 20 by 30.
20 by 30.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's just
transportable
a guesstimate. It's transportable sizes, right?
Maybe not in my producer Abel Alejandre's mini coupe, but other than that, we could get it around town. What? And again, oil paint, oil on canvas.
Oil on canvas.
Okay, so nice. Okay, we definitely have more. Let's see what else we got. Okay, oh wow, it's kind of like me and you here. Here we go.
There you go. Look at that, holding the world like that.
Yeah. Okay. So what's going on here?
Oh, okay. This is called Omeyocan. Now, Omeyocan is to the indigenous people was the highest place in heaven. This was the difference between the indigenous spirituality and the Catholicism or the Christian that came in was you always had this Father God. Father God. With indigenous, it's Mother and Father God, and it's duality. And I really why was Mother left out of this? When the Christian side of it, why was the Mother left out of that? So when I did read about Omeyocan, which is a duality about the Mother Father God, and it's in the highest place in heaven, this image came up to me, man. It's very visionary, the work that I do. I could be driving somewhere and I'll receive visions like this, and I'll work them into a composition and.
So when you work in things like, for example, like an Indian headdress, is it based on an actual vision that you had, or is it based on some historical research that the native headdresses looked, they appeared this way? So I have to make it appear this way, like in an accuracy thing, or if you have a vision that the headdress.
No, this is how this came about. I met just a beautiful couple, Dante and Aurora Gamboa, and they are Aztec dancers, you know. And so when I met them, and that's like, wow, I need to capture these people. And I probably have maybe 6 or 7 paintings of this couple, you know, because they come to my house when I photographed them, and they were dressed like this. I might have changed the color, but you know, they were actually.
So you are reproducing at least what somebody is presenting as an accurate thing.
Yes, because
relative.
exactly.
I mean, and again, a lot of this is just passed down through oral tradition, based on so much of it being wiped out. But we do have people who have at least some recollection of how this is done.
See, I sat them on top of a table, and they held a basketball. You know, and they held a basketball, man. And they didn't know what I was doing. They had no clue, you know. They probably had chairs like this, and I just said, just hold the basketball.
Exactly. Those don't look like folding chairs.
They went with it, and that's beautiful people that are going to help you along to capture our culture and to bring it.
They thought they were doing something for Nike or the NBA, and it's like, okay. Three-pointer. Okay.
Once they saw it, they really loved it, and
wow.
it's one of my greater images right there.
Now, what part of this though was a vision? Were the chairs a vision, or is that
I
just
created
I
think I might have changed the color, you know, of their clothing, and I created the chairs, and of course space came about. I got all the planets in there, and
you didn't. That is not an accurate ephemeris of the location of each planet. No, it's just where you.
It's just I made sure to put
these people
all the planets in there.
These people they try to say, oh, Starry Night. We can figure out what night Vincent van Gogh painted Starry Night. You know. And he looked at the town, and then he turned around, and the stars were actually over. None of that. Though,
and
right?
I've had like people that study Mexica culture, Aztec culture, and they've come and they've questioned me like, Rick, that's not right. And I'm a painter. To begin with, I'm a painter.
It's like when people do not documentary films, but like biographical films, and they say, oh, well, this character never really did this, or that character never exists. It's like, hey, you got to make a movie. Your allegiance is to your art,
right?
And the historical accuracy, while you are operating obviously out of complete respect, you need to take liberties to compose the best picture.
Well said, Matt.
Well, that's
well said.
That's my job.
Well said.
Yeah,
you're right.
Okay.
Exactly.
So, and when were you? Did you ever do any Aztec dancing?
No.
No?
No, I never did, man. I was kind of like the outsider that just took photographs, you know.
Well, there's always a first time.
Maybe.
So what year? When did you do this?
It's also years back, man. I sent them some of the older images.
We got a variety.
Also about 2011, more or less. Right around there.
And we could still see them perform if we wanted, yeah?
Yeah, they were performing last night. I was doing a show last night at the Da, and they were performing last night. And
the Da in Pomona?
The Da in Pomona.
Oh, yeah.
We had a show yesterday. It was called Aslan, and it's Aslan. This is the 15th anniversary of Aslan. I've been doing it for 14 years. And it's also part of the PST, the LALA.
It's one of the PST shows?
Yes.
Great.
That was last night, the opening, and that's going to be till, I think, January, I believe.
Man, I'm totally thrilled that Pomona got in on that.
Right.
That's great,
yeah,
because it's part of the Southland. I mean,
yes, it is.
So, but from Silmar to Pomona, that's a hell of a schlep, man.
Man, this year's been good. I started in San Francisco, and then I had a 2-man show with Sergio Terán in Fresno. And I have a solo right now at Chimaya, and then yesterday at the Da. So it's been nice, man.
Wait, there's art in Fresno? Just kidding. Just hold your complaints there.
Art Americas, man. That's a beautiful space. If you've never been there, it is amazing.
Wow. It's
a huge space, Art Americas, man.
The one thing I learned is if you're driving through Central California, Fresno, I mean, because it's a regular big, somewhat semi-city, and but because the produce there, it's like you can go to like. The worst restaurant in Fresno is like the best. So if you're driving Central California, wait to go to Fresno and just go to a cheap diner, and it's like, oh my God, like everything is it's the absolute best produce there. So there's my Fresno secret. So okay, so let's move on. Let's see what else you got.
I'm curious to see what else I got here.
Did I make this? Did you make this? All right, what are we looking at here?
Okay, see, this is also Aurora Gamboa again. Like I said, I painted them because of it's just the aesthetics and the way they present themselves. And not only that, but they help me so much in just all they got to do is pose, man, and all of a sudden these images will come to me. So this is a piece called Honoring Death, of course, and which is good around this time, Dia de los Muertos. I think I created this 2 years ago.
Why? Okay, just just to be the dumb dude, just to be El Gabacho. Why do we honor death? Western culture, we fear death. You got to, oh God, death. But why, Day of the Dead? What? So why do we honor death?
Why do we honor death? It's to me, it's a tradition that it's why not? If there, like I said, the duality. If there is life, there has to be death. We're all gonna go there. You can't cheat it. But I think Mexicans do it in a more celebration way, celebrate death, without fearing it, because we're all going there, and so why not, and especially after somebody dies, hey, let's celebrate their life, so there's that duality that the indigenous people really believe,
Is the Day of the Dead, is that basically a response, maybe you know the history, I'm curious, to the Catholic All Saints Day, All Souls Day?
I think it's tied in.
It's not a coincidence. It's not like November 1st was always like, no?
I think it was tied in.
Yeah, tied
just
in,
like everything else.
Oh, well, to convert them, we'll do this. Yeah,
exactly.
okay.
Yes.
So, and so now again, you've painted her a number of times. Mm-hmm. She's not holding a basketball here. She's got this chalice.
Well, she was actually holding that.
She's got the chalice
the
there.
copal smoke. Yeah.
Yeah, and did you have to light it in the studio to get the right effect?
No, I kind of create that on my own.
Yeah.
Again, there's a universal.
Did you create the chalice,
right,
or is this an actual artifact?
I think if I'm not mistaken, no, that's hers. She was holding that one. So sometimes it comes easier. But like some of the jewelry, I don't know what I got, but I love to create this jewelry, that.
Now, do you ever imagine jewelry painted and then say, fabricate and manufacture?
That would be
do a line of my.
Might have to work on that.
Way to promote that. 2 income streams. Okay.
But that headdress is hers. That's an amazing headdress. I mean, it's just the beauty of it is amazing. She creates her own, huipiles and her own outfits there. So.
Now, do you ever feel, or are you ever confronted with maybe people in the arts that feel that your imagery might fall into cliche relative to? Some people want everything to be groundbreaking and new. Do you?
Of course, I've run into that. Yes,
yeah.
most definitely. We've seen this before, but this is mine though. It's mine. But I simply just seeing the images. I don't know if you're familiar with Jesus Helguera. In every calendar of Mexico, you see this Aztec.
The whole Malinche.
Man, I was in love with those as a kid, and I would copy them and I would draw them, and you know what? Now I get to do it with my own version of this, and so it's to me it's traditional.
So you're not afraid of it's been done. That doesn't bother you.
Am I? No, not at all.
No? Great. Okay.
Because that's it's part of our history, and I believe that. We've got to learn about this. Like I said, I didn't see it in history books growing up, so hopefully maybe, we get a chance to put these in history books,
Awesome. How do you balance what you would say like ancient spirituality with modern spirituality? Is it the same thing? I mean, we're confronting a completely different world.
I believe so. I think that, it is that, especially in the art, you're creating in the same fashion, I believe, as the people 500 years ago,
there's oil paintings. I mean, if you're making an oil painting, Rembrandt made an oil painting. It's pretty much the same, chemical composition.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and of course, my painting is it's of the European masters. It's held in that tradition, but with the subject matter as going into indigenous, and then for the indigenous people. But from here, I don't, I don't know where my art goes anyway, so I might.
You could veer anywhere.
I'm not held down with anything. So, this, like I said, my Mexica painting was part of my, kind of like my seed, and so you have to learn about yourself in order to move on, with your life. So, so right now, I don't know. Let's see where my art goes.
Could go up, could go down.
I hope up, man.
Right? Yeah. Well, I meant like down into the depths, plumbing the depths.
Oh,
of the
I've done
psyche.
that many a
You can
times.
go up,
Yeah,
you can
man.
exalt. You can go. Let's,
There you go.
know,
And
so-
you got to go
so-
down into the depths in order to reach. That's most
Well,
definite.
okay.
That's another
nice
story.
save.
That's another story.
Rick Ortega,
Hey,
thanks for
Matt.
being our guest on Modern Art Blitz. We'll be back right after this.